Okay, we need to define his head a little bit better. So in order to do that, there's actually more of a violet that comes here underneath his neck, like this, and comes down straight like that, right into his wing and into this whole area. So I'm just going to lightly add that. Marry all this together. Then I'm going to go back in and soften that edge with clear water. And just darken up this shape right here. The shape of his head is important. And this wing comes in here. We're going to darken this wing again where it meets. That goes underneath. Well, that's not a wing actually, just this part of his back, I guess, basically. It's a very distinct dark shadow shape. So we need to really define that shape along his wing. That's better. And that could be bluer. So go back into our grays and our blues. Back in here. Let's make this grayer. We are painting on dry paper, but it's very wet. So I'm just doing the shadow shapes now along his feather. His wing. There's going to be a lot going on in there, but we're not going to define all of this on him. This is all lighter in here. There's something else going on there. Kind of got some feathers coming back under here. Clear water here, just to soften that. Just some darks to suggest feathers. These are a very distinct color right here. It's actually a cerulean blue. If you don't have a cerulean blue, you can use the phthalo blue with the Payne's Gray. A little more of the blue, because they're very blue, but they're very soft blue. So that might be too bright. We might add a little ultramarine to that mix, just to knock that saturation back a little bit. Let's see what we get there. Oh, it's a little, still a little too bright. But that's okay. Oh, that's pretty good. Okay, we'll leave that for now. We'll do that better whenever the masking fluid is off. That's just to remind me that there's this really interesting shape here. And up in here is this beautiful blue. There's a beautiful blue feather up in here. And it's these details that make your painting just come alive. Like that. Okay. So the level you want to take this to is up to you, because I'm doing this for my intermediate students. I'm probably not going to take this to as high of a level as I would if I were painting this for my own purposes. So that's just that dark mixture again with the Payne's Gray and the burnt sienna. Getting those darks in there. Remember, when we take the masking fluid off, it's going to be much brighter there. I actually think we'll go ahead and put that in that way, though. That'll be fine. All right, so we're getting a little definition to him. This lighter version of this mixture with the burnt sienna, just going to go right into this feather edge right here, which is all part of this feather. So that's that darker mix. So that gives us kind of a nice look there with that darker brownie mix in there. Quite dark. I think my violet's a little too violet, so I'm going to go right back over that with just the ultramarine blue mix. The ultramarine and phthalo blue mix, just in this area. It's hard to nail these colors when you're using a limited palette. I like that better. It's either you end up with it being a little too blue or a little too, that's not quite the right shadow there, but that's okay. So I just work between these puddles of color, pretty much testing whatever mixture I end up with, and that's how you get harmony in your paintings. So I'm just going in now and loosely going in here with a little more gray back in that. See, I just go over the same areas, layering them over and over again until I get the look I want. And that busyness, we've lost some of that in here, but that's okay. We can actually blot that out. So we're not, how much detail we put in this is up to us. We don't want him to look too severe, so we'll just keep modeling it so we get a soft look. I'm still seeing some different grays in here. Back behind here. There. Some of these shadows underneath where they would be under a feather. Anywhere there's a feather that stands out. Just adding some definition here and there. This is all light up here, so we don't want to do too much up in here. But we do want this definition here. And I'm already overworking this. I said I wasn't going to do this for you guys, and I end up overworking him anyway. So it's very hard for me to paint loosely. I am not a loose painter. So I have a really hard time painting loosely. So I think we need a line here that comes the mid. There's a line here, so we're going to loosely put that in. That's this line that goes on down here, just to give some shape to this wing over here. And we need to soften all of this. That's too severe. So basically we're painting values is what we're doing here until we get the value that we're happy with. I'm going to go ahead and start working on the detail on him, just so we don't get too carried away here. So I'm going to take that new gamboge and get his beak in And this eye, we can't put that eye in yet, but we can put his beak in. It's important to get the shape of his beak correct. Soften that a little bit. Then we're going to go ahead and drop in his, actually that line comes back kind of like that. Let's drop in his legs. He has these beautiful yellow legs. This is that new gamboge. And I'm using a number 4 detail brush to get in these areas. And his toe, I love their feet, and you can actually, it's almost transparent, so you want that very soft. Then I should have made up my mixture with the red, the Pyro Red, and the new gamboge for an orange. Because the orange goes right under here. This is actually the webbing of his foot. And that goes all the way down there. It's not exactly the right shape there. Then he has some claws back here. And then there's some orange in here. Go back into the yellow. Let that all blend together. The magic of watercolor is when the pigments all and the water all blend together in this beautiful, seamless fashion. And soften that a little bit. That's a little harsh there. You don't want that looking so flat. And his skinny little ankle there. All right. Let's put in his eyeball. And that's usually just Payne's Gray. Then I'll go around that with the yellow and then with the orange. So let's take that orange. It's a brighter orange, so we'll add a little more red to it. Blotting our brush a little bit, and just underneath his beak, right in here, softly, because that's still wet. We can kind of make that mark right there. And I'll clean up that little blip right there in a minute. So around the yellow, let's see if we can get that little red around there. Okay, he's looking better. We need to push this much darker. Always looking at values, always looking at values. always paying attention to, that's a dry brush right there. Little, that's lighter, so we'll just make that a little redder. There's warmth right there. Just keeping that really dark in there. Some of these places are really dark. Because this is wet on wet, it's going to look softer once we get it all. And if you don't want to just do it with your brush, you can just spritz this little area here and give it a little texture. Okay. And make sure we catch that edge right there. All right. That's better. I like this darker over here. I always like my edges darker, so it brings you into the painting. All right, I think we're ready to remove the masking fluid.